Autopilot off.
Okay, I'm close to where I want to build my station complex, although that's not super important. My hired albatross is still in the shipyard, so I'm going to give him the command to follow me.
You are talking? I am a Telani, Captain. What affirmative?
Oh, yeah, I guess he's a little bit out of scanner range right now, which is why I can't see him yet. But it doesn't really matter. He doesn't have to be in range, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to verify that now.
You are talking? I am a Telani,
Yep.
Captain.
Okay, I'm going to tell him to please drop my freight here. And don't worry, you'll still be given ample time to choose where he places it. And he doesn't even have to be close to you, it just works. So let's choose this. And then we're going to start with the main, one of the main factories first, and that's the Bliss Place. Now once I select it, you'll see it starts highlighting by where the supply ship is. Of course, he's out of sector range, but I can still miraculously see it. So let's zoom in with the home key on the sector map. And we'll use the numpad arrows 8, 4, 6, and 2 to move the ship up. This is right in the path. Now don't forget to flip the X, Y, and Z axis to check it both ways by pressing the insert key. When I press it, you see it's a little bit below where I'm looking. Not so much of an impact in this case, but just be aware of that. I'm going to hit insert again. Alright. Now, again, with the satellite in place, if I press, well, let's zoom in really close so you can see this. Right now, you just see the icon. If I press K, you'll see the outline of the station in the background. Now, let's zoom in even more with the home key, and you'll really see the details of the station. Now, if I rotate it, you can rotate it with the numpad keys again. Number 7 and 9 will rotate it this way, and 1 and 3 will rotate it this way. Now it's not so important, like I said, when you're initially placing the station, because one station by itself, it just really doesn't matter. But when you start adding a station to it, you want to make sure that you can see it right here. This is the area where ships will dock. You want to make sure that that's generally on the same side or the same axis so that the complex construction kit will line up with them and you won't have this big mess of spaghetti. So I'm going to zoom back out a little bit again. And again, this is why you save your place, especially when you don't have much experience in placing these stations, because you can really goof this up. And it's kind of a pain. I mean, they'll still work. The worst case scenario, you'll have stations running into each other and they'll start doing damage to each other over time. They make noise. You really don't want that. So it's best to save your place until you really get the hang of this. So I'm going to cancel this because I kind of goofed that up while talking about it, and I'm going to replace it. I'm not going to bother with any rotations. I'm just going to move it up to where I'm at. Hit insert to check the next plane. That's pretty good. Hit insert again. And let's place the first one here.
It is good to unload freight here. It was a pleasure making profit with you. May profit go with you.
And now you get this animation that you just can't skip out of, so go ahead and get used to that. And be patient. Okay, now if I pull up my properties window and right arrow to stations one time, you'll see that I have a Bliss Place M Alpha, and that will start to blink orange or yellow, I can't remember, any second now because it's simply not producing anything. But let's go ahead and
you are talking. I am a Telani, Captain.
Drop the next portion. I've got one Bliss Place out. Now remember, they're basically 1 for 1, so I'm going to drop a Dream Farm also. Let's go ahead and get it in the general vicinity by using the numpad arrows again. Don't forget to hit insert and check. As you can see, it's slightly below the next one. And now let's zoom in with the home keys, and I'm going to press K so that you can see the sector view. And this is where it really becomes important. Oh, I'm sorry, that was already on. No, it wasn't. There we go. This is where you can see it really becomes important because you can see the outline and make sure they're not running into each other. Let's zoom in some more, and some more, and some more. Okay, now get this close this way. Now let's invert it with the insert key. Now, if I run them into it, like right now they're conflicted, they're running into each other. That's a bad example. There are a couple of cases where on one axis it looks like it's okay, but on the next axis you see they're running into each other. So just don't forget to check both. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and drop this right here. Let's zoom in one more time. No, there we go. And insert. That looks good. Now hit enter.
It is good to unload freight here.
And again, the
It was a
unavoidable
pleasure making
animation,
profit
so
with
just be
you.
patient.
May profit go with you.
And in all its glory, there are two of your, at least in my case, first stations or factories. Now, they're not connected. They're not doing anything at all. If you pull up your properties and go to stations, you'll see that now, yeah, the first one placed is blinking orange, meaning it's in need of something. And if I pull up the information, you'll see that it has 0% of the needed resources, which are energy cells and swamp plants. So, okay. Let's go ahead and connect the two together. These two are useless if they're not connected with a complex construction kit, so let's have him drop it.
You are talking to the
Captain, drop my freight. Let's drop complex construction kit. Now this is different than the other two. Instead of choosing the location with the arrow keys, you literally choose two stations to connect to each other. So let's choose the Bliss Place first, which is my primary station, and then we'll connect it to the Dream Farm. Now you have to choose a map location for the complex hub, which is basically the docking port. So what will happen is from now on, when I add more stations and more complex construction kits, no matter how many I have, I can have 100 stations up here, but every ship will come up and dock only at this one docking port. So this is pretty handy, and it keeps this I guess as minimal of a mess as it can be. Alright, so let's get it, let's zoom in here, check out, press K to go to the sector view. Okay, no conflict there. Insert key, I can't really tell, so I'm going to move this down a little bit. Let's zoom in a little bit more and check where the docking ports are. They're here, right here and here. That looks pretty good. Let me just make sure. I'm having a hard time remembering this. No, that's right. Let's flip it back over. And hit enter. That's good enough. And now you'll see that your two stations are connected together with a bunch of pipes and a place for ships to dock. And if you really take your time and zoom in, you can get these really close and make them look kind of nice. I wouldn't worry about that too much as long as it's functional. I believe X Rebirth is going to fix this anyways. Looking at the videos, it looks very impressive. But all right, now when I go over to stations, you will no longer see the two separate stations. You will see Complex Hub. And I'm going to go ahead and rename it by selecting it and pressing M. My Space Weed Factory. Okay, well that's the gist of setting up a station, and I still have two more, but I'm lacking one complex construction kit, so I'm going to have him go dock at the space station again. Or I'm sorry, at the shipyard. I don't know why I always say that. And pick up one more complex construction kit, and when I'm back I will set up the last two, and we will have a fully functioning Space Weed factory with the exception of energy. And there's nothing more to that than just buying a hauler, assigning its home base to my Space Weed factory, and having him buy energy. So I'm going to do that at the same time. I'm going to pick up the complex construction kit. I'm going to pick up one hauler ship locally and get him ready to do that. And when I'm back, we'll get this thing running. I realized I didn't talk about orientation of the stations. I talked about placing them, and I talked about getting them close together without overlapping. But the way you orient the station will affect where its, I guess you would call it docking pad is, where the ships actually dock with it. I did speak about that on the complex construction kit, but not the stations themselves. I'll try to address that when I place the remainder of my complex. And basically, if you just put all of the docking, I guess, ports on each station facing the same direction, then all of the piping that comes from the complex construction kit will be neater. It'll be on the same side of the complex. But it's not super important to me. I don't really care. As long as the complex construction kit itself ends outside of the station complex, you'll have no problem getting in and out. So I also found out I was just a little bit short on money to buy a local hauler, because the only thing available here are the Vultures, and they're quite a bit more expensive than the Mercuries up in Argon space. And I'm not very friendly with the Paranid right now, so I'm not too short. It's 1.5 million, and by the time you add engine tuning and rudder tuning, I'm probably just a tad short. I just realized there's a mission available here. I'm going to check it out real quick.
While talking, do you recall I shall transmit the data to you now.
Easy for 156K, and that looks like that might just top me off enough to get this station running, so I'm going to take it.
Incoming message.
And of course, it's in areas of space that I haven't mapped yet, so I'll be right back. Okay, I've docked at the station in Rise Crusade, and let's talk to the NPC to get the coordinates.
Receiving upgrade information for database.
I don't think I have enough energy to jump. Pretty sure I don't. That's funny, I should have checked that first because I was in a solar power plant, and regardless of the price, I could have just picked it up, so yeah, pay attention to the details. Alright, I'm going to grab some energy, jump into the target sector, and I'll be back. Okay. Looks like the kill mission is for a Pirate Viper. And it's an M8. So this shouldn't be so bad. I hope that's not my famous last words, but I'm pretty sure I've fought the M8s before with no problem. I was thinking they were an M6 earlier because of the icon, but they share an icon, so once I get in range, I'm going to match speed with Shift F, and then I'm just going to start rotating around him, trying to get in his blind side and open up. Shift F again, slow down.
Incoming message.
Alright. That should give me enough to pick up the hauler ship and still have enough to buy energy and continue trading with my sector trader. So I'm going to head back down to Ministry of Finance and do that now, and I'll be back. Okay, I just bought a Vulture Super Freighter, and that leaves me enough money to buy some energy for the station to start up and still continue buying goods for my local trader. And that pretty much runs me dry now, but it should pay off in the long run. As I continue to do missions, my station will start producing income, and of course the trader will continue to trade. So Alright, first things, let's go ahead and assign this ship to my station. Pulling up its command console, and right there it says home base and just a dash, it's empty. We'll select that, select the sector my station is in, and then select my Spaceweed factory. And now that's its home base. So when I give it the order to buy goods, the assumption is it buys it for that base. So it will run out, buy them, and then bring it back. So I'm going to go ahead and give it the command now, even though it's not going to do anything yet, but it'll be a standing order. So let me just review this again real quick. If you pull up the information on my station, you'll see that the product, or what it produces, is Spaceweed. It also has an intermediate product, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Well, it's actually part of the resources. That's a little misleading, but it needs swamp plant and energy cells to produce this. Actually, okay. It's a little bit easier to see information panel on inside a station or a shipyard when you're purchasing it. But either way, it requires swamp plant and energy cells to produce the Spaceweed. But I have put in dream farms in the complex, so it will be producing one of its resources. And then the only thing I need to bring in that it's not producing is energy cells. So this is the only thing I have to buy, and right now one hauler should be enough. So I'm going to set him to buy energy cells. And let's go ahead and rename this. This is a habit that I have, because later in the game you're going to have just hundreds of ships and it's hard to tell them apart. And I usually start all of my station hauler ships with ST, because I know it's a station ship, and then I'll call it something like SW for Spaceweed, and then energy buyer. Come up with your own system, whatever makes sense to you, but this allows me to take a quick glance at my properties and I can tell exactly what this ship does. And I'll probably go ahead and put a number 1 on this, because I may eventually buy a second one, and that will further help me differentiate them. So that's renamed. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the order. Command buy where for best price. And you'll see that both of the resources come up, but since I'm producing swamp plants, so I'm not going to buy it. Let's buy energy cells.
Command accepted.
Okay, he has the command. And it says buy energy cells, but if you'll look on the screen, he's not moving. And that's because the factory doesn't have any money to buy it with. It does not take it out of your personal account. It takes it out of the factory. So to fix that, you'll see here the factory has 0 credits, but the ship or player has 260,000. I'm going to go ahead and put most of it in the station.
Funds transfer.
And now you see my ship is off. And actually it's going to go buy it for the best price, and that's probably somewhere besides this sector. So this time only I'm going to manually force the ship to buy. Well, that's great. They're all great prices, so it should go to this sector. But knowing my luck, normally it would be running off to another sector 3 jumps away and take forever. And since I just want to get my station running, I will bite the bullet on cost and buy energy at the closest location, and dump it into the station and then get it running, and then reassign the order buy for best price. So, okay, I'll be back when he picks up some energy. Okay, my hauler has docked with my complex. So I'm going to open up the trade menu and transfer all of the energy cells from the ship to the station.
Energy set.
And now when I pull up information on the station, in order for the swamp plant or the dream farm to produce swamp plants, it needs energy, which it didn't have, and in order for it to produce Spaceweed, it needs swamp plants. So now that it has energy, it will start to produce swamp plants, and then once there's enough of this in stock, it will start to produce spaceweed. So I'm going to hit SATA here and see if we can watch the process get started. There we go. Now it's producing swamp plants, and that's fairly quick in the grand scheme of things. And it takes a bit of stock before this will begin, but this will. And then your station will stop blinking because it has all of its needed resources. Okay, I'm a tiny bit short on cash, so I'm going to run a mission or two, get enough to buy the final complex, and I'll be back and place the final stations.
Autopilot on.
Okay, I've just picked up a hard mission, assassination.
Pirate Hades.
Not sure if this was a smart move, but we'll find out in a second. It pays very well, 680k or so. Okay, sorry for the loud noises, I forgot to turn that down, but yeah, that helped a lot. Okay, I'll be back when I'm back in sector and finish putting this station together. Okay, let's get the rest of this complex built. I'm going to place my second bliss place. And go ahead and zoom in, get it into the general vicinity. Don't forget to use insert to get it on the same plane. I'm pressing K to turn on satellite view or sector view. Now, zoom out just a little bit, take a look at this. There we go. Yeah, okay. You can see this is identical to that station. Now, yeah, I was wrong about the piping on the complex construction kit because as you can see, it looks like there's the docking port of the factory or station, and the piping is coming out of the opposite end, so it looks like I was wrong on that, but I'm going to keep this consistent anyways. And get it aligned. That looks pretty good. So they'll be right next to each other. And this is going to be kind of a messy station because of that, but again, I don't care as long as my the actual docking hub from the complex kit is out and away from the complex. This can just be a big ball of spaghetti as far as I'm concerned.
It is good to unload freight here. It was a pleasure making profit with you. May profit go with you.
Alright, there's our second bliss place. Now same thing with the second dream farm. And yeah, I'm going to be short one complex construction kit, so I'm going to have to pause capture after this until I save up enough money to grab that. I should have had this done and just waited until I was ready to make the video, but again, I do these when I have time to do them, and right now I have time. So, okay, same thing, rinse and repeat. K for satellite view. Zoomed in a little bit too much. There we go. Let's figure out where this is going to go. Where are we? Here we are. And of course, yeah, you can always rotate these around to manipulate how they're going to be placed and where the I guess I keep calling it the piping or the tubes from the complex kit are going to go. Now, if you really want to be meticulous about this, you can buy salvage insurance and wait until you have all of the stations you're going to build in your complex, or at least one of each type, and get into location, then save your game, and then place the stations and see how they turn out. See where the tubes go, see what it looks like, and then if you don't like it, you can reload and then replace the stations correctly and take your time and get it just perfect. So, but again, I'm not worried about appearances at all. I'm just going to drop this so that it's not running into the other one, which this isn't, and make sure it's on the same plane. It is.
It is good to unload freight here.
Because I just care about
It was a
the
pleasure
income
making
and having
profit
the
with
complex
you.
running.
May
So.
profit go with you.
And an animation you can't skip out of again. And the last one for this video, we'll drop a complex kit. Works the same way. We're going to connect the second bliss place to the Space Weed factory. And then when I pick up a second complex kit, I will do the same thing for the second dream farm, and then this will be fully functional. So I'm going to pause capture, run a couple of missions. Actually, wait a second. Never mind, that last one was it paid so well that I actually have enough to pick that up. So I'm going to go pick that up, come back and install it like I just did, and then we'll talk about getting the station up and running. Okay, I have the last complex construction kit added, and my station is now functioning. Both dream farms are producing, and once this batch is complete, it should stock the second bliss place, as well as add to the first one, I believe. I'm not sure if it balances them out. Find out in a minute. Let me go ahead and turn on SATA here. But then this one will start producing also. And because I started them at different times, this is always going to kind of be unbalanced, at least I believe. I'm not sure. I haven't built, well, this is the first Space Weed complex I've built. And in other complexes I've built, the second station would just start building at a random time. I'm not sure, but it looks like this is going to wait until the first batch is done, and then maybe both will start. We'll see in a second here. Anyways, you can see energy cells are getting really low, and once that runs out, the dream farms will stop producing, and then ultimately this one will stop producing also. There's no funds in the station, so they can't buy any. I am going to fix that now.
Funds transferred.
I'm not sure if I just left my, yep, I left my local trader empty-handed because I don't have any money for him to trade with. So let's balance that just a little bit.
Funds
And now he can at least trade something. Okay, so it's going to take a little while for this to run at full steam. I just want to hold the video long enough to see what happens here. Okay, yeah, the minimum amount of swamp plant required plus energy, actually I think it is energy that I'm hurting on right now, so that's why the second one didn't stop. So you need both resources, and it's going to be a minute before that happens. So I'm going to go ahead and stock up energy cells. these will run at full steam, then this will run at full steam, and I'll be producing my first space wheat industry. I've never done this, so I can't wait to see what the income potential is, and I'll probably save that for the next video, as this one has become quite lengthy. So that's it for now, and I'll see you soon.